Hey, good morning and welcome to today's crash course on campaign analysis and channel analysis for our clients. We wanted to review today just the very basics of how to look at different campaigns we're running, how to gauge their success, how to read some of the metrics, and most importantly, how to make recommendations and how to make changes to campaigns to improve upon things. So we're going to kind of scrape the surface today with a lot of that. So basically, what we're going to analyze essentially is any effort that we go out there, whether it's through organic or paid search or social media or email marketing. What is that? How is that contributing to the client's goals? And the goals really depend on the business, obviously. So in this example, FOCO, we've got primarily an e-commerce goal. We're going to deal with a client who's essentially going to judge our efforts, and that we should judge our own efforts based on how much money we spend and how much money we can bring back. So that's going to be a very specific type of thing for e-commerce clients. We may have some other clients though that are more in a place where we can't always track the exact value of leads, meaning there's no e-commerce transaction immediately, but what there is are different forms of lead generation. So we track things like phone calls, live chats, form submits, text messages. There's a lot of different options there. But what this basically means though is, across both of these is we're essentially using the same metrics, this goal conversion, to identify which campaigns are most effective, which are least, and to simply maximize those that are most effective and minimize those that have, the least positive impact. So let's just quickly go over the two pieces there. So for an e-commerce client, a lot of what we're going to look at are specifically e-commerce stuff like revenue, transactions, this sort of thing. We're going to get into looking at the campaigns in a second, but really what we're going to focus on for these types of clients are specific to how much revenue we bring back for each effort. And on the lead gen side, it's going to look a little bit more like this in Google Analytics, where we're tracking things like phone calls and chats and contact forms. Without getting into the technical in a lot of detail, but we basically have mechanisms with Google Analytics to track any kind of goal conversion. So we have something that tells us each time a chat happens and where that person came from. We have something that tells us each time a purchase happened and how much that purchase was for and where that person came from. So what we need to do as analysts then is tie it all together back to our efforts, and that's what we're going to go through right now. So first off, we want to look at, we're going to spend most of the time for this sort of analysis in the acquisition tab, and then we're going to start in the channels tab. So basically what we can do at the channels level, and channels just a very high level to group together the different types of marketing that we do. We'll see things like paid search and organic search and email, direct, display, social, all of that here. And this is going to aggregate all of these channels together and tell us what has happened in each channel. And I think some of the things you really want to look for here, first and foremost, are what has the largest impact? That would be like the first question to ask. So whether you've been working on the campaign for a while or you're brand new to it, you want to get a feeling for what is the highest impact channel, what are the lowest impact channels. So an easy way to do that, simple sorting of this is maybe just to sort by revenue first, just by clicking on it. And now we see the highest revenue channels first. So we immediately know for this particular client that paid search and email are very important. In fact, together they account for, we know from right over here, about 75% or so of all traffic in terms of like revenue. Then what we also get from this then are what are the weakest channels. So towards the bottom of this type of sort, we can see that, social and display, very nominal, referrals as well, very nominal. So just at a high level, things I'm starting to think about are obviously paid search and email are really effective, probably have a chance to be more effective, but certainly we know they're strong relative to everything else. Things like social and display, we're obviously very weak at this point, maybe some opportunities there to do more with. Really depends on the business model, but definitely, something to look into. The next thing we want to look at in a little more detail has to do with specifically, so aside from what's got the most impact, is really like what's the most efficient. So if our client comes to us and has a $10,000 budget, how can we most effectively spend that money? So what we can do to research this type of thing is access reports like the Google Ads report. So if we want to associate that concept with Google Ads, we can jump into a report within Google Ads that is going to take us down to the campaign level. So we can look at things like our first campaign here, which is a shopping campaign, and we can get metrics behind how much we spent and how much we made. So if we simply just break it down to how much we spent and how much we made for a few channels, let's take a look at what we see. So for the Smart Shopping campaign, this is our highest volume campaign, bringing in $20,000 or so this week, and the cost was about $10,000. So seemingly a pretty profitable buy there. Great campaign, kudos, and obviously one that we want to keep running and try to maximize some more. But if we go to retargeting next, we're looking at like a spend of $438 and bringing back only $351. We're actually losing money on this particular campaign. And we'd sort of make this same type of analysis for each campaign as we go down the list. And the simple logic here is if we have X amount of money, a limited budget, which campaigns can we eliminate or spend less on? Which campaigns can we spend more on to improve the overall return on ad spend? And that's really the way we want to look at everything we do. Now, this is specific to Google Ads, but we could break this down into any other type channel that has, expense, meaning ad cost versus revenue. So what we had covered in the last weekly video was something related to custom reports. And the reason that we went into that so soon, I think, and why there's value there, is that custom reports let you really get into very specifics to your client as to what you want to look at. So for this particular client that we just looked at, what I'm going to do, what I had done already is created a custom report. And basically what I wanted to see for each medium is how much traffic we had, how much expense we had, and obviously how much revenue we had. Now there's a couple other pieces though. I want to pair all that also with email subscribers, because that's a major goal for this client. And this is something only custom reports will let you do, is sort of chart all this together. And I want to look at ROAS as well. So in this view, I can still see that CPC, pay-per-click marketing is still, the highest impact. I can look at other things like email and get all of those metrics as well. But I really get a feeling for not only the revenue, but also email subscriptions. So in this case, CPC has brought in 35,000 revenue, but also 1,300 new subscribers this week. So it's got some additional value to it, and we have a general return on ad spend that we can look at. Now what I can do here is compare channels again and find weak channels, strong channels, and try to push more and ask questions about why we're not doing more of what's strong and less of what's weak. But I could also drill in because I've created a custom report. In this case, and I was looking at all CPC, but we run that on both Google and Bing. And again, in sort of making this analysis, what I can look at are how much did I spend in Google? How much did I bring back? And what's the return on ad spend then? So that return on ad spend, again, is a function of how much we spent compared to the revenue we brought back. So clearly Google, bringing back 217%. So that basically means for every dollar we spent, we brought back $2.17 from those campaigns, whereas Bing only $1.36. So again, as an analyst and someone who's making recommendations to clients, I may look at this and say, well, just from this view, it would seem like if we had to spend less money, we might just drop Bing off the list, and that would bring our overall return on ad spend up with the least negative impact on revenue. So that would be if we just sort of treated it at the source level. Now what we could do is drill a level deeper into Google, because my custom report is built to show campaigns now. And now I can get down to specific campaigns for Google and say, okay, well, I know that the shopping campaign ROAS is 197%. What I'm going to do quickly actually is just sort these. And what I'm going to quickly see when I sort by ROAS is on top, obviously, my best campaign. So this is actually a brand campaign here that brings back 50 to 1, basically, for every dollar we spend. That's common with brand. We have some other campaigns that bring back almost 3 to 1, etc. As we go down this list, the campaign quality degrades, right? So we get down to campaigns that only bring back $1.27 to 1 or $1.38. So again, when we're looking at this, we ask ourselves, if we're on a limited budget, if we're trying to make a account more efficient as a whole, which of these can we start to eliminate? And that answer immediately is going to go to the lower performers. So our recommendation to our client or our question to our internal teams might be, why are we running campaigns like this one that are operating at a loss? And really everything under this top red line here is operating at a loss. So why are we running them? How can we improve them, or can we drop them and spend more money where we can make more money? So these are some of the, I think, just fundamentals of how to do it, how to sort of look at this and consider, where you could spend money better. The key tools, obviously, because you have Google Analytics out of the gate, are going to be all within acquisition reports. So they've already got some pre-canned reports where you can look at specific channels or sources and mediums. These are great to start with, but you may end up, for some clients, creating your own custom reports and just trying to break it down a little bit more, because I think a lot of these reports, you get a lot of data that maybe you don't need, or data that maybe isn't needed all the time when you're really just trying to focus on, tangible return on ad spend type reports to make those decisions. So hope this helps with just some basic optimization, and yeah, enjoy.